Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Stormhaven, which has been doing really well this meta so far. Alrighty, so we've got the Pinion Prayers, obviously, the Sacred Pleas. We're only running 2, so I don't interfere with the Pinions too much, and so that they aren't too overdrawn. Plus, card draw isn't your biggest thing for this deck. Honestly, you're able to keep your hand pretty steadily with the other cards that are in here. We're running double Lyrial and triple Snow White and triple Heavenly. The Snow White Heavenly is still an amazing combo. Snow White applies a lot of early pressure and is kind of a key card to nearly any Haven deck at this point. If you're not running Snow White, or if you dusted Snow White, I'd really recommend creating more and just using them. They're just an amazing card, can easily trade into all 2 and 3 drops pretty easily. And just comboing with Heavenly is an amazing thing on early turns. The Lyrial Archer obviously being a really good way to get damage and trade up. So I thought, why not? 2 of those, pretty staple in most decks these days. The Hollow Dogmas are running 3, mainly because we have the Pinion, the Beast Call, Tribunal, Birdsong, and March of Hair. So we have plenty of amulets that benefit from it, plus the draw card is pretty important when we're not having to rely on the Sacred Pleas too much. I'm also running double Healing Prayer because sometimes coming up against Blood and Shadow you really want that little bit of healing, and the subtract 1 from amulets really do help with you being more aggressive and able to trade on board, especially when you have things like Divine Birdsong and March Hare's Tea Time on board. The Blackened Scripture, pretty staple, you know, clearing off everything, limiting what Haven can do, always good. Grimnir, a pretty good late game if you need it, and a pretty alright early game if you want to block damage. The same thing for Angelic Knight. You could probably swap those out a little bit and mix and match numbers, so you could probably go 3 Angelic Knight and maybe completely drop Grim, or you could make triple Grim and maybe just 1 Angelic Knight, really up to you. I found Angelic Knight's really nice though for getting that 1 damage that you might need to either trade up or to hit face. Either way works pretty well. Obviously Winged Sentinel, 3 damage, proc, works well with Birdsong, Prayer, basically anything. Dark Janine, another one that works great with March, Divine, and Beast Call, along with anything else that you can get evolved, just for that extra damage, along with providing the potential board clear. So overall, that sums up the base of the deck. For the mulligans, you are looking for a turn 1, 2, and then maybe even a 3 drop, but at best and most averagely, you will go for 2 2-drops and a 3 drop or 4 drop, so that you can curve out nicely. Alright, so we'll get right into some games. So I thought I'd start with the quickest game I had, being against a Shadow deck. I think this is a turn 4 end, so it's not too flashy, but it definitely shows what this deck is capable of against something like Shadow, which is probably one of the top decks right now. So we start off with probably the best hand we could get, all 2 drops, Heavenly and the Snow White, along with the Beast Call, which is a nice setup when you need it. Which is pretty much why I'm able to easily beat down the Shadow. Luckily no 1 drop from them, so no worry there. The 2 drop on the other hand, they do manage to play out a little Soul Squasher, which Snow White counters pretty much perfectly. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. But the Beast Call was much better play because of the Hollow Dogma draw. The Hollow Dogma draw does allow us to proc the Beast Call early and put some pressure onto the board. And since we're going second, we also have priority on the evolve, meaning as long as we clear off one of these 2/2s, we're actually pretty set. I mean, they're not easily getting rid of this 4/4 at this point, and they would have to spend some cards to do so. But they go for the Haunted House and Zombie Party way to do it, completely spending their board and playing 1 Ghost. Like I said, this was a reasonably quick. We did get a nice bit of setup here, so why not? So, play Snow White. Then I decide, let's drop the Lyrial. We've got the extra evolve points, why not use it? Deal 1 damage to their face and subtract their damage from the Snow White, so they try and hit the Lyrial as priority. Fortunately, like I said, this pretty much ends it. They try and go for whatever they can, I guess. They throw out a couple of goblins here, throw out whatever else they kind of got with the Actress, pretty much empty their hand. I don't know whether they could read minds or something, but they ended up using it this way, and unfortunately it's not very good for them. I mean, the March Hare's Tea Time would completely clear board, and they would have 1 card in hand, which would be a loss anyway. So I'm guessing they just thought, hey, we're out of aggro and have nothing left, so why not concede? Our next one is against a Rune, which I'm not sure whether this was a D-shift or some weird variant. It was a little odd. But these are all master games, so they give a representation of the letter for sure. We start off with another pretty good hand, a 1-drop, 2-drop, and the heavenly drop for the Hound. We do get our turn, making sure Pinion comes out. We will be walled off by things like ice barrier sort of cards. What was it? I forgot what it's called now. The 5/5 ward that gets destroyed. I'm sure I'll remember it once it pops up. Fortunately, that Beast Call was pretty much perfect. We can drop in, play out what we want, fill the board up a little bit. The Dark John doing its work. Sorry, I always pronounce that wrong because I always think Janine and not John, but each their own, I guess. Summon Ice Form, that's the one. So the Ice Golem, making my life a living hell. I do decide to trade the Snow White, only so I can use the Evolve early and get the Heavenly Hounds out with their extra stats, because I want to have them set up and ready. It does mean that the Beast Call won't get full value unless they clear something off, but it's a risk I was willing to take for this turn. I mean, their turn 4 isn't going to be too crazy. Best case, they clear 3 things. Worst case, they don't really do anything. Fortunately, all Storm followers. Why not? We can use that Angelic to boost the other Eagle and just ram it and then tail a total of 8 damage to face once we add the Evolve damage in. Storm does tend to be pretty quick when it comes to Haven, being able to get damage in. This isn't a deck I'd really change many cards in. I did mix around a few things just to make it that little bit better at the moment. Illusionist, of course, being an absolute pain. Fortunately though, we have some options here. The Tea Time being a perfect one, and actually providing us with a very, very close lethal. Setting them literally to 1. I believe, no, sorry, we'll leave them at, do we leave them at 2? 3? No, we do set them to 1. I couldn't remember whether I traded or not here, but it makes sense that I didn't. They do go for the Archer, but concede anyway because they realize, hey, we have nothing left. And the final matchup for this video will be against another Shadow deck. Shadow being pretty prominent. It's not surprising that we're seeing a lot of it at the moment. This video will probably be quite short, surprisingly. I was hoping it'd be a little longer, but I don't like doing much more than 3 matches per video, so this will have to be alright for you guys. So we've got the Blackened, which is perfect, and Snow White, which is nearly ideal as well, and a double Bird Song, so we can easily proc them out when needed. And fortunately, Tribunal of Good and Evil, another great card to have against Shadow, especially in the early game where things can become a problem pretty quickly. Fortunately though, we do get the Angelic Knight, which allows us to do 2 damage and make Snow White a little more valuable. And they decide to go face. Probably not the decision they should have made. I mean, Tribunal does proc here, giving us the kill while giving them a Shadow, but letting us deal 2 damage and leaving us Snow White up. Catacomb though, coming down. They do prioritize evolving, which is fine. The Black Inscription is great. This Catacomb is actually really weak. I'm guessing they really wanted a board to play it on and just got really unlucky with their draw power, which pretty much opened the door for me to easily kill them off in the long run. So Black Inscription plus a Divine Birdsong, why not? We have 3 now. We're able to push that 2 more damage, dropping them down to 14. Not a bad spot to put them into. Fortunately, that Bone Chimera comes down again. You know, they're trying to proc them Shadows, trying to be like, hey, we've got Shadows, you've got no Shadows, what are you going to do about it? Luckily, these Divine Birdsongs, though, work out quite well. But March Hare does become a better play than Winged Sentinel, just because the trade and the damage is much more favoured. And I can leave the Tribunal and the Divine for next turn, along with the Winged Sentinel proc on the Tea Time, giving me an extra 3 damage. So in total, I can deal 9 damage just in the next turn, and trade if I get lucky here. which will then leave them on 2, provided they don't, you know, somehow deal with absolutely everything. And even a Demon Lord would not be enough damage, so we just had to hope the Tribunal was a nice shot. If we had have hit the Lurching, we would have lost the 3-4. Fortunately, because they had 4 on board, the odds were in our favour. Having the odds in our favour is always a good feeling. Tin Soldier getting its damage in, being able to trade with the Erd, limit what they can do to me. So at most, you know, they've got 6, 7, 8 damage total for next turn if they had have played Hector. Fortunately they don't, and they go Death's Breath, which puts me in a really dangerous spot. For a little while I was thinking, how do I deal with this? What do I do? They get really good trades and I don't. Then they Soul Conversion, making it even harder for me. I was thinking of going the Dark and somehow trying just to clear off what I could, but the Sentinel is exactly what we need, giving me a guaranteed 3 damage to their face, and that is lethal. One of the only cards that could do that for me. So this deck right now is definitely solid. It's got a great early game against most decks, and the late game functions pretty well as well. If you can aggro out most other decks, the only real risk you're going to run into is probably a really heavy aggro blood, which could be a harder matchup just because you don't really have all the things you need to counter it. And of course the Shadow ideal hands are going to be difficult unless you have an ideal hand as well, but that's the kind of matchup that decks present in this kind of meta. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya!